Welcome to WooEnglish. In this story, you'll learn English through clear and simple sentences. We encourage you to write comments and share your thoughts. If you enjoy the story, please press the like button to reward us. It really helps us out. Remember, the purpose of this story is educational. We want to help you improve your English while enjoying an exciting tale. We do not encourage or glorify the actions of the characters involved. Let's begin the journey together. Chapter 1. Early Years. Richard Feynman was born on May 11, 1918 in Queens, New York. His parents, Melville and Lucille Feynman, were thrilled to welcome their new baby boy into the world. They named him Richard Phillips Feynman. Queens was a busy place, full of people and noise, but it was home for the Feynman family. From a young age, Richard was different from other children. He was curious about everything. While other children played with toys, Richard liked to take them apart to see how they worked. His father, Melville, noticed this curiosity and decided to encourage it. Melville was not a scientist, but he loved to read about science. He shared his interest with Richard by telling him stories about the world and how it worked. One day, when Richard was just 5 years old, his father took him on a walk. They saw a bird sitting on a tree branch. Melville asked Richard, "Do you know what kind of bird that is?" Richard shook his head. "No, Dad, I don't know." His father smiled and said, "It's a brown-throated thrush. But Richard, remember this. Knowing the name of something is not the same as knowing something. It is more important to understand how things work than just to know their names." This lesson stayed with Richard throughout his life. He always wanted to understand things deeply, not just memorize facts. Richard's mother, Lucille, was also an important influence. She loved to tell stories and had a great sense of humor. She taught Richard to laugh at himself and to find joy in life. This balance of curiosity from his father and humor from his mother made Richard both a serious thinker and a fun-loving person. At school, Richard was a bright student, but he sometimes got into trouble because he was bored. The school lessons were too easy for him. He finished his work quickly and then started to look for other things to do. Sometimes this meant he got into mischief. His teachers didn't always understand him, but Richard didn't mind. He just wanted to learn more and more. One of Richard's favourite things to do was to experiment. He turned his home into a small laboratory. He took apart radios to see how they worked, and then put them back together. He built his own gadgets and tried to make things better. One time he even fixed a neighbour's radio that no one else could repair. He was only 11 years old. Richard's sister, Joan, was born when he was 9. He loved having a little sister and often tried to teach her the things he was learning. Joan admired her big brother and enjoyed their time together. Later in life, Joan also became a scientist, showing that Richard's love for science was contagious. When Richard was in high school, he discovered a love for mathematics. Numbers and equations made sense to him in a way that few other things did. He spent hours solving problems and learning new concepts. His teachers noticed his talent and encouraged him to pursue his interests. One day, Richard's math teacher gave him a difficult problem to solve. It was a problem that no student had ever solved before. Richard looked at the problem carefully and then started to work. He didn't give up, even when it seemed impossible. After hours of thinking and trying different methods, he finally found the solution. His teacher was amazed and knew that Richard had a special gift. But Richard's life was not all about science and math. He also loved to play. He enjoyed sports, especially baseball, and spent a lot of time outside with his friends. They played games and explored their neighborhood, always looking for new adventures. Despite his love for fun, Richard never stopped learning. He read every book he could find about science and math. He asked questions and tried to find answers. His father continued to support him, always reminding him to understand the world deeply. As Richard grew older, his passion for science grew stronger. He knew that he wanted to spend his life learning and discovering new things. His family, especially his father, continued to encourage him. They knew that Richard was destined for great things. One day, Richard found an old math book in his school library. It was full of complex problems and theories. Most students would have found it too difficult, but Richard saw it as a challenge. He took the book home and started to study it. Every night, he worked on the problems, trying to understand the advanced concepts. It was hard, but Richard loved the challenge. He knew that this was what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. By the time Richard finished high school, he was ready to take on the world of science. His early years had been filled with curiosity, learning, and fun. His family had given him the support and encouragement he needed to follow his dreams. Richard was ready for the next step in his journey, and he couldn't wait to see where it would take him. Richard Feynman's early years were a time of discovery and growth. They set the foundation for his future achievements and shaped him into the remarkable scientist he would become. His curiosity, encouraged by his father, and his love for fun, inspired by his mother, made him a unique and brilliant individual. These early experiences taught him to always ask questions, to never stop learning, and to find joy in understanding the world. These lessons would guide him throughout his life and lead him to make incredible contributions to science. Chapter 2. School Days. Richard Feynman's school days were anything but ordinary. Born with an insatiable curiosity, Richard's journey through education was a blend of discovery, challenges, and triumphs. When Richard started school, he quickly realized that he was different from his classmates. While other children were content with the simple lessons, Richard always wanted to know more. He asked many questions, sometimes too many for his teachers. His teachers often didn't have the answers, which only made Richard more determined to find them himself. One day in elementary school, Richard's teacher showed the class a simple magnet. She explained that magnets can attract and repel each other. While his classmates nodded and accepted the explanation, Richard's hand shot up. "Why do magnets attract and repel?" he asked. The teacher paused, unsure how to explain the complex science to a young child. "That's just how they work, Richard," she said. But just how they work wasn't enough for Richard. After school, he went home and told his father about the magnets. His father smiled and said, "Let's find out together." They spent the evening reading about magnets and experimenting with different objects. Richard learned not just how magnets worked, but why they worked. It was a small victory, but it fueled his passion for understanding the world. As Richard moved to middle school, his curiosity grew stronger. He loved science and math classes the most. Numbers and equations were like puzzles to him, and he enjoyed solving them. His teachers quickly noticed his talent. One teacher in particular, Mr. Farley, saw Richard's potential and gave him extra problems to solve. One afternoon, Mr. Farley handed Richard a problem that none of his older students could solve. "This is a tough one, Richard," he said with a smile. "Think you can figure it out?" Richard's eyes lit up. He spent the next few days working on the problem. He tried different methods, wrote pages of calculations, and even woke up in the middle of the night with new ideas. Finally, he found the solution. He rushed to school the next day, excited to show Mr. Farley. Mr. Farley looked at Richard's work and nodded in approval. "You did it, Richard. Excellent job." Richard beamed with pride. This experience showed him that with enough effort and determination, he could solve even the toughest problems. Outside of school, Richard's inventive spirit continued to shine. He loved to tinker with gadgets and build his own devices. One of his favourite projects was working on radios. Radios were popular in those days, and Richard was fascinated by how they worked. He started by taking apart an old radio his father gave him. He carefully examined each part, trying to understand its function. Then he put the radio back together, and to his delight, it worked. Word of Richard's talent spread quickly in his neighbourhood. Neighbours began bringing him their broken radios, and Richard enjoyed fixing them. He felt like a detective, solving mysteries and bringing things back to life. In high school, Richard's love for mathematics reached new heights. He joined the math club and participated in math competitions. He often stayed after school to work on advanced math problems. His classmates admired his abilities, and his teachers encouraged him to pursue his passion. One day, Richard's math teacher, Mrs. Bell, gave the class a particularly challenging problem. She offered a prize to anyone who could solve it. Richard took the problem home and worked on it tirelessly. He filled pages with equations and tried various approaches. Finally, after many hours, he cracked the solution. The next day, Richard handed his solution to Mrs. Bell. She reviewed his work and smiled. "Congratulations, Richard. You've won the prize." The prize was a book on advanced mathematics, and Richard couldn't wait to read it. Richard's success in school was not limited to math and science. He also enjoyed reading and writing. He loved stories of adventure and exploration. These stories inspired him to think creatively and imagine new possibilities. Despite his academic achievements, Richard remained humble and eager to learn. He often helped his classmates with their homework and shared his knowledge. He believed that learning was a journey best taken together. One memorable event during Richard's high school years was the science fair. Each student had to present a project, and Richard decided to create a model of a particle accelerator. He spent weeks building the model, carefully explaining how it worked and its significance in science. On the day of the science fair, Richard's project attracted a lot of attention. Students, teachers, and even parents gathered around to see his model. Richard explained his project with enthusiasm, making complex concepts easy to understand. His project won first place, and he received a scholarship for his future studies. Richard's school days were filled with moments of discovery and growth. His curiosity and talent in mathematics and science set him apart. His inventive spirit and love for learning guided him through many challenges. As Richard approached graduation, he reflected on his school years. He was grateful for the support of his family, teachers, and friends. They had nurtured his curiosity and encouraged him to pursue his dreams. Richard knew that his journey was just beginning. He was excited about the future and ready to explore new horizons. His school days had taught him valuable lessons. He learned the importance of asking questions, seeking answers, and never giving up. These lessons would stay with him throughout his life and guide him in his future endeavours. Richard Feynman's school days were a testament to the power of curiosity and perseverance. His early experiences laid the foundation for his remarkable career in science. They showed that with passion and determination, anything is possible. Richard's journey was just beginning, and the best was yet to come. Chapter 3: College Years. Richard Feynman's college years were a time of intense learning, discovery, and growth. These years at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and later at Princeton University laid a foundation for his remarkable career in physics. Richard was excited and a bit nervous as he arrived at MIT. It was a new world full of opportunities and challenges. He was eager to dive into his studies and meet others who shared his passion for science. From the first day, it was clear that MIT was a place where he could thrive. In his first year, Richard was overwhelmed by the vast amount of knowledge around him. The courses were difficult, and the competition was fierce. But Richard loved a good challenge. He spent long hours in the library, reading textbooks and solving problems. He was particularly fascinated by physics, the science of how the world works. It was like a giant puzzle, and Richard wanted to understand every piece. One day, during a physics lecture, the professor introduced a complex concept called electromagnetism. The equations on the board looked like a foreign language to most students, but Richard was intrigued. He spent hours after class trying to understand the principles behind the equations. He asked his professor many questions and even conducted his own experiments to see the theories in action. This determination paid off, as Richard soon became one of the top students in his class. At MIT, Richard didn't just focus on his studies. He also joined various clubs and activities. He played the bongo drums in a student band and participated in math competitions. These activities helped him relax and made his college life more enjoyable. In his third year, Richard took a course in quantum mechanics, a field that would define his career. Quantum mechanics is the study of very small particles, like electrons and photons. It's a strange and complex world where particles can be in two places at once and can change their state just by being observed. Many students found the subject confusing, but Richard was captivated. He saw it as a new frontier to explore. Richard's professor in quantum mechanics, Dr. Morse, noticed his enthusiasm and potential. One day, after class, Dr. Morse called Richard to his office. "Richard," he said, "I see great potential in you. Have you considered pursuing research in quantum mechanics?" Richard's eyes lit up. "Yes, Dr. Morse, I would love to, but I don't know where to start." Dr. Morse smiled. "Start by reading these papers," he said, handing Richard a stack of research articles. "And remember, the key to understanding quantum mechanics is to think differently. Don't be afraid to question everything." Richard took the advice to heart. He read the papers and began to develop his own ideas. He spent countless hours in the lab, experimenting and analysing data. His hard work and dedication paid off when he published his first research paper. It was a significant achievement for an undergraduate student, and it boosted his confidence. After graduating from MIT, Richard decided to continue his studies at Princeton University one of the leading institutions for physics research. Princeton was home to many brilliant scientists, and Richard was eager to learn from them. At Princeton, Richard's advisor was John Archibald Wheeler, a renowned physicist known for his work in quantum mechanics and relativity. Under Wheeler's guidance, Richard's understanding of physics deepened. Wheeler encouraged Richard to think creatively and to tackle the most challenging problems. One of the biggest challenges in physics at the time was the problem of quantum electrodynamics, QED. QED is the study of how light and matter interact at the quantum level. The existing theories were incomplete and often gave nonsensical results. Many physicists had tried to solve these problems without success. Richard decided to take on the challenge. He spent days and nights thinking about the problem, scribbling equations on a blackboard in his room. He tried different approaches, sometimes getting frustrated, but never giving up. His inventive spirit from childhood was still with him, pushing him to find a solution. One evening, while working late in the lab, Richard had a breakthrough. He realized that he could simplify the complex equations using a new method. This method, later known as the Feynman diagrams, made the calculations more manageable and provided clear visual representations of the interactions between particles. It was a revolutionary idea that would change the field of physics. Richard shared his findings with Wheeler, who was impressed. "This is brilliant, Richard," Wheeler said. "You've made a significant contribution to our understanding of quantum mechanics." Encouraged by Wheeler's words, Richard continued to refine his ideas and conduct experiments. His work on QED earned him his PhD and recognition in the scientific community. He presented his findings at conferences where other physicists praised his innovative approach. Despite his growing fame, Richard remained humble and curious. He was always willing to help his classmates and share his knowledge. He believed that science was a collective endeavor, and everyone's contribution was valuable. During his time at Princeton, Richard also met Arlene Greenbaum, a talented and intelligent woman who shared his love for music and science. They fell in love and got married. Arlene's support and encouragement were crucial during Richard's challenging times. She believed in him and his work, which gave him the strength to keep going. Richard's college years at MIT and Princeton were a period of intense learning and growth. His passion for physics and his determination to solve complex problems set him on a path to greatness. His innovative ideas and methods, such as the Feynman diagrams, revolutionized the field of quantum mechanics and earned him respect and admiration from his peers. As Richard looked back on his college years, he realized that the challenges and hard work had shaped him into a better scientist and person. He learned the importance of perseverance, creativity, and collaboration. These lessons would guide him throughout his career and lead to many more discoveries and achievements. Richard Feynman's college years were not just about academic success. They were about the joy of discovery, the thrill of solving complex problems, and the satisfaction of contributing to the scientific community. His journey was just beginning, and he was excited about the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Chapter 4. World War II. In 1941, Richard Feynman's life took a dramatic turn. The world was at war, and the United States had just entered World War I. Richard was now a young physicist with a PhD from Princeton. He was eager to use his knowledge for something important. Little did he know, he was about to become part of one of the most secretive and significant projects in history, the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was the US government's effort to develop an atomic bomb before the Germans did. It was a race against time, and the stakes were incredibly high. Richard was invited to join the project because of his talent and expertise in physics. He knew this was an opportunity to make a significant impact, so he agreed to join. Richard packed his bags and traveled to Los Alamos, New Mexico, where the main research facility for the Manhattan Project was located. Los Alamos was a secret city, hidden in the mountains and surrounded by security. Only those involved in the project knew what was happening there. For Richard, this was both exciting and daunting. Upon arrival, Richard was amazed by the sheer scale of the project. There were hundreds of scientists, engineers, and workers, all dedicated to the same goal. The atmosphere was intense. Everyone knew they were working on something that could change the course of history. Richard's role was to help solve the complex physics problems needed to build the bomb. He joined a team of brilliant scientists, including some of the greatest minds of the time. Richard was particularly impressed by the project leader, Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was a brilliant physicist and a great leader. He inspired everyone with his vision and determination. One of Richard's first tasks was to work on the calculations for the bomb's explosive power. This was no easy task. The calculations were incredibly complex, involving new and untested theories. Richard spent long hours in his office, working through the equations. He used both his mathematical skills and his creative thinking to find solutions. The pressure was immense. Richard knew that a mistake could mean failure, but he thrived under pressure. He found the work challenging and exciting. His inventive spirit from his childhood and college days was now being used for a crucial cause. As time went on, Richard became more involved in various aspects of the project. He worked on the problem of nuclear chain reactions, which was critical to the bomb's function. This involved understanding how neutrons moved and interacted within the bomb. Richard's deep understanding of physics and his ability to think differently helped him make significant contributions. Life at Los Alamos was not just about work. There were moments of camaraderie and even fun. Richard enjoyed playing the bongo drums and often entertained his colleagues with his music. He also took part in various sports and social activities. These moments helped everyone relax and bond, making the intense work environment more bearable. One of Richard's most memorable experiences at Los Alamos was his work on the safety protocols for handling the bomb's components. Safety was a huge concern, as the materials they were working with were extremely dangerous. Richard developed a series of safety measures and procedures that helped ensure the project ran smoothly and safely. In addition to his scientific work, Richard also showed his talent for solving practical problems. One famous story involved the locks at Los Alamos. The laboratory had many locked cabinets containing important documents. However, the locks were often faulty. Richard, with his love for puzzles, learned how to pick the locks. He then helped design better locking systems to keep the documents secure. Despite the intense secrecy of the project, Richard formed strong friendships with his colleagues. They shared the same goals and faced the same challenges. These friendships provided support and encouragement during the tough times. As the project neared its completion, the atmosphere at Los Alamos grew even more intense. The team worked around the clock, knowing that the final test was approaching. This test, called the Trinity test, would determine if their efforts had been successful. On July 16, 1945, the Trinity test took place in the New Mexico desert. Richard and his colleagues waited anxiously as the countdown began. When the bomb finally exploded, it created a blinding flash of light and a massive mushroom cloud. The ground shook and the sky turned bright orange. Richard felt a mix of awe and relief. They had succeeded. The bomb worked. However, this success was also sobering. Richard knew the power they had unleashed was immense and could cause great destruction. The reality of what they had created weighed heavily on him and his colleagues. Shortly after the Trinity test, the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. The devastation was unimaginable. Thousands of people lost their lives and the cities were destroyed. While the bombs helped end the war, they also brought immense suffering. Richard returned to Los Alamos with mixed feelings. He was proud of the scientific achievements, but deeply troubled by the destruction. He realized that science could be used for both good and harm. This experience profoundly affected his view of his work and its impact on the world. After the war, Richard left Los Alamos and returned to academic life. He became a professor and continued his research, but his experiences during the Manhattan Project stayed with him. He often reflected on the ethical responsibilities of scientists and the importance of using knowledge wisely. Richard Feynman's work on the Manhattan Project was a defining period in his life. It tested his abilities and character in ways he had never imagined. His contributions were crucial to the project's success, but the experience also taught him about the profound consequences of scientific discovery. Richard's time at Los Alamos was a blend of intense work, camaraderie, and ethical challenges. It shaped his future career and his views on science and its role in society. The lessons he learned during this time would guide him for the rest of his life, reminding him always to think deeply about the impact of his work. Chapter 5. Academic Career Begins. After the end of World War II, Richard Feynman was ready for a new chapter in his life. He had worked on the Manhattan Project, contributing to the development of the atomic bomb. Now he wanted to return to academia and share his love of physics with students. In 1945, Richard accepted a position as a professor at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. Richard arrived at Cornell with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. He had never been a full-time professor before. Teaching would be a new challenge, but it was one he was eager to take on. Cornell was a prestigious university with a strong physics department. Richard was confident that he could make a significant impact. From his first day at Cornell, Richard's teaching style was different from most professors. He believed that learning should be fun and engaging. His classes were lively, filled with demonstrations and real-life examples. Richard didn't just lecture, he told stories, asked questions, and encouraged his students to think critically. One of Richard's favorite teaching methods was to use simple, everyday objects to explain complex concepts. In one memorable class, he used a spinning plate to illustrate the principles of rotational motion. He tossed the plate into the air, and as it wobbled and spun, he explained the physics behind its movement. The students watched in amazement, understanding the concept more clearly than they ever had from just equations on a blackboard. Richard also encouraged his students to ask questions, no matter how simple or complicated. He believed that questioning was the key to learning. When a student asked a particularly challenging question, Richard would smile and say, "Let's find out together." He would work through the problem with the class, demonstrating that even he didn't have all the answers, but was always willing to explore. One day, a student asked Richard why the sky is blue. Instead of giving a quick answer, Richard turned it into a lesson. He explained how light from the sun is scattered by the molecules in the atmosphere. Blue light is scattered more than other colours because it travels as shorter, smaller waves. Richard's detailed yet understandable explanation made the students appreciate the science behind something they saw every day. Richard's office at Cornell was often filled with students. They came to discuss homework, ask for help with projects, or just talk about physics. Richard enjoyed these interactions. He saw them as opportunities to inspire and guide future scientists. He was patient and always willing to help, no matter how busy he was with his own research. Speaking of research, Richard was also making significant contributions to the field of physics. His work during this time focused on quantum electrodynamics, QED, a theory that describes how light and matter interact. This was a continuation of the work he had started during his PhD at Princeton. Quantum electrodynamics was a complex and challenging area of study. The existing theories often gave nonsensical results when used in calculations. Richard, with his creative thinking and deep understanding of physics, saw this as a problem that needed solving. He developed new methods and techniques to make the calculations more accurate and understandable. One of Richard's major contributions to QED was the development of what became known as Feynman diagrams. These diagrams were simple visual representations of the interactions between particles. They made it easier for physicists to understand and calculate the behavior of particles in quantum mechanics. Richard's diagrams were a revolutionary tool that changed the way physicists approached problems in QED. Richard's innovative work in QED did not go unnoticed. He began to gain recognition in the scientific community. His papers were published in leading journals, and he was invited to speak at conferences around the world. Despite his growing fame, Richard remained humble and focused on his teaching and research. At Cornell, Richard also formed close friendships with his colleagues. They often discussed their research, exchanged ideas, and collaborated on projects. These interactions enriched Richard's work and provided him with new perspectives. Outside of the classroom and the lab, Richard enjoyed life in Ithaca. He loved the natural beauty of the area and often went hiking in the nearby mountains. He also continued to play the bongo drums, entertaining his friends and students with his music. One of the challenges Richard faced at Cornell was balancing his teaching and research responsibilities. There were times when he felt overwhelmed by the workload, but he managed to find a balance, always making sure to give his best to both his students and his research. Richard's time at Cornell was marked by both personal and professional growth. He learned the art of teaching, discovering how to make complex ideas accessible and exciting. He also made groundbreaking contributions to the field of physics, laying the groundwork for future discoveries. One of Richard's most rewarding experiences at Cornell was mentoring a bright young student named Julian Schwinger. Julian was passionate about physics and had a keen mind. Richard saw great potential in him and encouraged him to pursue his interests. Under Richard's guidance, Julian went on to make his own significant contributions to QED, eventually sharing the Nobel Prize with Richard for their work in the field. As Richard reflected on his time at Cornell, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had inspired many students, made lasting friendships, and advanced the field of physics. His experiences at Cornell had shaped him as both a teacher and a scientist. In 1950, after 5 years at Cornell, Richard received an offer from the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. It was an opportunity to join one of the leading institutions in the world and continue his research in a new environment. Richard decided to accept the offer, ready for the next chapter in his academic career. Richard Feynman's years at Cornell were a time of discovery and growth. His unique teaching style, innovative research, and dedication to his students made a lasting impact. Richard's journey was far from over, but his time at Cornell had prepared him for the many challenges and adventures that lay ahead. Chapter 6: Caltech and Quantum Electrodynamics. In 1950, Richard Feynman moved across the country to join the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, in Pasadena, California. This new phase in his life brought fresh opportunities and challenges. Caltech was known for its excellent research and brilliant scientists, and Richard was eager to be part of it. When Richard arrived at Caltech, he was welcomed warmly by his new colleagues. They knew of his reputation from his work at Cornell and the Manhattan Project. Richard quickly settled into his new role as a professor and researcher. He continued his unique teaching style, using everyday examples and engaging stories to explain complex physics concepts. His classes were popular, and students loved his energetic and clear way of teaching. Richard's main focus at Caltech was on quantum electrodynamics, QED, the study of how light and matter interact at the quantum level. Quantum mechanics was a relatively new field, full of mysteries and puzzles. Richard was determined to solve some of these puzzles and make sense of the strange behavior of particles. One of the key problems in QED was that the existing theories often gave infinite results, which made no sense. These infinities were a major obstacle for physicists. Richard approached the problem with his usual creativity and curiosity. He believed there had to be a way to make the equations work correctly. Richard developed a new way to calculate the interactions between particles. He introduced Feynman diagrams, a visual tool that showed how particles interact. These diagrams simplified the complex equations and made it easier to see what was happening in particle interactions. Each line and vertex in the diagram represented a specific mathematical expression, turning abstract concepts into clear and manageable pictures. Using Feynman diagrams, Richard was able to calculate the behavior of particles more accurately. His methods allowed physicists to predict the outcomes of experiments with great precision. This was a major breakthrough in the field of quantum mechanics. Richard's work on QED was published in several important papers. His innovative methods and clear explanations impressed the scientific community. Other physicists began using Feynman diagrams in their own work, and Richard's approach became a standard tool in quantum mechanics. In 1965, Richard's contributions to QED were recognized in a big way. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, along with Julian Schwinger and Shinichiro Tomonaga, who had also made significant contributions to the field. The Nobel Prize was one of the highest honors a scientist could receive. It was a testament to Richard's hard work, creativity, and determination. Receiving the Nobel Prize was a proud moment for Richard, but he remained humble. He saw the prize as a recognition of the collaborative nature of science. He often said that science was like a game where everyone worked together to understand the rules. Richard was grateful for the support of his colleagues and students, who had all contributed to his success. Despite his fame, Richard continued to focus on teaching and research at Caltech. He believed that sharing knowledge was just as important as discovering new things. He spent many hours working with students, guiding them through complex problems and encouraging them to think independently. Richard's office at Caltech was always open to students and colleagues. He enjoyed discussing ideas and solving problems together. His enthusiasm was infectious, and many young physicists were inspired by his approach to science. One of Richard's favorite teaching tools was the Feynman Lectures on Physics, a series of lectures he gave at Caltech. These lectures covered a wide range of topics in physics, from basic principles to advanced theories. Richard's clear and engaging style made the lectures popular, and they were later published as a book. The Feynman Lectures on Physics became a valuable resource for students and teachers around the world. In addition to his work on QED, Richard explored other areas of physics. He studied the behavior of liquid helium, developed theories about the nature of forces in the universe, and investigated the fundamental principles of quantum mechanics. Richard's curiosity knew no bounds, and he was always eager to explore new ideas. One of Richard's most famous investigations was into the Challenger space shuttle disaster in 1986. Richard was part of the commission that investigated the cause of the explosion. Using his trademark curiosity and problem-solving skills, he discovered that a rubber O-ring in the shuttle's booster rockets had failed due to the cold temperatures on the day of the launch. His clear and simple explanation helped the public understand what had gone wrong and highlighted the importance of careful engineering and testing. Throughout his time at Caltech, Richard maintained a sense of balance in his life. He continued to play the bongo drums, draw sketches, and explore the world around him. These activities helped him relax and stay creative. Richard believed that having diverse interests made him a better scientist. Richard's time at Caltech was marked by significant achievements and contributions to science. His groundbreaking work in quantum electrodynamics earned him the Nobel Prize and changed the way physicists understood the interactions between particles. His innovative teaching methods and engaging lectures inspired generations of students and scientists. Richard's legacy at Caltech went beyond his scientific contributions. He created a culture of curiosity, collaboration, and creativity. His approach to teaching and research showed that science could be both serious and fun. Richard's work reminded everyone that the joy of discovery was at the heart of scientific exploration. As Richard looked back on his career, he was proud of what he had accomplished, but always eager to learn more. He saw each discovery as a step towards a deeper understanding of the universe. Richard's journey was far from over, and he was excited about the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Richard Feynman's years at Caltech were a time of innovation, discovery, and inspiration. His work in quantum electrodynamics transformed the field of physics, and his teaching left a lasting impact on countless students. Richard's story was a testament to the power of curiosity and the joy of learning. Chapter 7. The Nobel Prize. In 1965, Richard Feynman was busy with his work at Caltech. He was teaching students, conducting research, and exploring new ideas in physics. One autumn morning, he received a phone call that would change his life. "Dr. Feynman," the voice on the other end said, "this is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. We are pleased to inform you that you have been awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics." Richard was stunned. He had never sought fame or recognition. For him, the joy of discovery was its own reward. He thanked the caller and hung up, still processing the news. Later that day, Richard's colleagues and students gathered to congratulate him. There was a sense of excitement and pride in the air. Richard smiled and accepted their congratulations with humility. He knew that his work on quantum electrodynamics, QED, had made a significant impact, but he never expected such a prestigious honor. Richard shared the Nobel Prize with two other physicists, Julian Schwinger and Shinichiro Tomonaga. They had all made important contributions to QED, developing theories that explained how light and matter interact at the quantum level. Richard's unique approach, using Feynman diagrams, had simplified complex calculations and made the field more accessible. As the news spread, Richard received messages of congratulations from around the world. Scientists, students, and even people outside the scientific community were inspired by his achievements. Richard appreciated the kind words, but he remained focused on his work. He believed that there was still much to learn and discover. The Nobel Prize ceremony was held in Stockholm, Sweden, in December 1965. Richard travelled to Sweden with his wife Gwyneth. The ceremony was grand and formal, attended by the Swedish royal family and many distinguished guests. Richard felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he prepared to receive the award. During the ceremony, the King of Sweden presented Richard with a gold medal, a diploma, and a cash prize. Richard gave a short speech, thanking his colleagues, students, and family for their support. He spoke about the importance of curiosity and the joy of discovery. His words resonated with many in the audience, reminding them of the true spirit of science. After the ceremony, there was a grand banquet. Richard enjoyed the evening, mingling with other Nobel laureates and guests. Despite the formal setting, he remained his usual down-to-earth self. He told stories, shared jokes, and made everyone around him feel at ease. Returning to Caltech, Richard found that the Nobel Prize had brought new opportunities and challenges. He received invitations to speak at conferences and universities around the world. People were eager to hear about his work and his views on science. Richard accepted many of these invitations, seeing them as chances to share his love for physics and inspire others. However, the increased attention also brought some difficulties. Richard valued his privacy and the time he spent on research and teaching. The constant demands for his time and attention sometimes felt overwhelming. He had to learn to balance his responsibilities and set boundaries to protect his work and personal life. One of the positive effects of the Nobel Prize was the boost it gave to his teaching. More students than ever wanted to take his classes. Richard saw this as an opportunity to reach more young minds and share his passion for physics. He continued to use his engaging teaching methods, making complex concepts clear and exciting. Richard's Nobel Prize also opened doors for collaboration. He worked with scientists from different fields and countries, learning from their perspectives and sharing his insights. These collaborations led to new ideas and discoveries, enriching his work and expanding his horizons. Despite the fame and accolades, Richard remained committed to his core values. He believed in the importance of curiosity, creativity, and independent thinking. He encouraged his students to question everything and to find their own paths in science. Richard's approach to teaching and research continued to inspire many, shaping the future of physics. The Nobel Prize also had a profound impact on Richard's personal life. He and his wife, Gwyneth, enjoyed travelling and meeting new people. They cherished the friendships they made along the way and the experiences they shared. The prize brought them closer together as they navigated the challenges and joys of this new chapter in their lives. One of Richard's favourite memories from this time was a visit to Japan. He was invited to give a series of lectures at several universities. Richard and Gwyneth were fascinated by the Japanese culture, the kindness of the people, and the beauty of the country. Richard enjoyed engaging with Japanese students and scientists, learning about their approaches to physics and sharing his own. As the years went by, Richard continued to explore new areas of physics. He was never content to rest on his laurels. He delved into topics like quantum computing, the behavior of subatomic particles, and the fundamental forces of nature. His curiosity drove him to keep learning and discovering, always pushing the boundaries of what was known. Richard's work and influence extended far beyond his own research. He played a key role in shaping the next generation of physicists. His students went on to make significant contributions to science, carrying forward the spirit of curiosity and discovery that Richard had instilled in them. Looking back on his journey, Richard felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The Nobel Prize was a significant milestone, but it was only part of a larger story. His true legacy was in the knowledge he had shared, the minds he had inspired, and the discoveries that lay ahead. Richard Feynman's receipt of the Nobel Prize was a turning point in his career and personal life. It brought recognition and opportunities, but also challenges. Through it all, Richard remained true to his passion for science and his commitment to teaching. His journey was a testament to the power of curiosity, perseverance, and the joy of discovery. Chapter 8. Beyond Physics. Richard Feynman was known for his brilliance in physics, but his interests and talents extended far beyond science. He had a zest for life that made him curious about many different things. This curiosity led him to explore various hobbies and activities that brought him joy and satisfaction. One of Richard's favourite hobbies was playing the bongo drums. He discovered his love for drumming during his college years and continued to play throughout his life. Richard loved the rhythm and the energy of the bongos. It was a way for him to relax and express himself creatively. He often played at parties and gatherings, entertaining his friends and colleagues with his lively beats. The bongos were more than just an instrument to Richard. They were a way to connect with people and share his passion for music. Richard's interest in art was another important aspect of his life. He loved to draw and paint, often carrying a sketchbook with him. He took art classes and practiced regularly, improving his skills over time. Richard found joy in capturing the world around him through his drawings. Whether it was a landscape, a portrait, or a simple doodle, he approached art with the same curiosity and enthusiasm he had for physics. His drawings were not just a hobby, but also a way to see and understand the world differently. One of Richard's most intriguing interests was safecracking. It all started as a playful challenge at Los Alamos during the Manhattan Project. The laboratory had many safes and filing cabinets to secure important documents. Richard was fascinated by the mechanics of locks and decided to learn how to open them. He studied the locks carefully and practiced until he became quite skilled at it. What began as a pastime soon became a valuable skill. Richard helped improve security at the lab by showing how easily the safes could be cracked. He approached safe cracking with the same analytical mind he used in physics, turning it into a fun and educational activity. Richard's curiosity also led him to explore languages and cultures. He enjoyed learning new languages and often tried to pick up phrases during his travels. He was particularly interested in the culture and language of Brazil. Richard visited Brazil several times, enjoying the music, dance, and vibrant life there. He even learned to speak Portuguese, surprising many of his friends and colleagues. His ability to connect with people from different cultures made his travels more enriching and enjoyable. One of Richard's most memorable adventures was his trip to the Brazilian Amazon. He joined an expedition to study the local wildlife and culture. The journey was challenging, with difficult terrain and unpredictable weather. But Richard loved every moment. He learned about the diverse ecosystem of the Amazon and the traditional practices of the indigenous people. This experience deepened his appreciation for nature and the complexity of life on Earth. Richard's diverse interests often intersected with his scientific work. His curiosity about how things worked extended to everything he encountered. This broad perspective enriched his approach to physics and helped him see problems from different angles. He believed that learning about different subjects made him a better scientist and a more well-rounded person. At Caltech, Richard's office was filled with various objects that reflected his interests. There were drums, paintings, books on different subjects, and even a few mechanical puzzles. Students and colleagues who visited his office were often surprised by the eclectic collection. These items were a testament to Richard's wide-ranging curiosity and his belief in the joy of discovery. Richard's approach to life was a source of inspiration for many people. He encouraged his students to explore their own interests and passions, believing that this would make them better scientists and more fulfilled individuals. He often said that learning should be fun and that curiosity should be the driving force behind all pursuits. One of Richard's favorite sayings was, "What do you care what other people think?" This phrase captured his philosophy of living authentically and following one's own path. He believed in doing what made him happy and satisfied, regardless of others' opinions. This attitude helped him maintain his enthusiasm and creativity throughout his life. Richard's diverse interests also brought him into contact with a wide range of people. He enjoyed conversations with artists, musicians, engineers, and people from all walks of life. These interactions broadened his horizons and provided new insights that often influenced his scientific work. Richard's ability to connect with people from different backgrounds was one of his greatest strengths. One interesting story that illustrates Richard's adventurous spirit involved a trip to Las Vegas. Richard decided to learn about gambling and the mathematics behind it. He studied the odds and strategies for different games, approaching it like a scientific problem. While he didn't become a professional gambler, he enjoyed the challenge and the excitement of the experience. This adventure was another example of how Richard's curiosity led him to explore and learn about diverse subjects. Richard's life beyond physics was a rich tapestry of experiences and interests. His love for music, art, puzzles, and travel made his life vibrant and fulfilling. These activities were not just hobbies, they were integral parts of who he was. They fueled his creativity and enriched his perspective, making him a better scientist and a more interesting person. As Richard grew older, he continued to pursue his interests with the same enthusiasm. He believed that life was an endless journey of discovery, and that there was always something new to learn and explore. His diverse interests and adventures were a testament to his boundless curiosity and his love for life. Richard Feynman's story shows that a life dedicated to science can also be full of diverse experiences and interests. His curiosity and enthusiasm extended far beyond the laboratory, touching every aspect of his life. Richard's example reminds us that learning and discovery can be found in everything we do, and that a rich, fulfilling life comes from exploring the world with curiosity and joy. Chapter 9. Teaching and Lectures. Richard Feynman was not only a brilliant physicist, but also an extraordinary teacher. His approach to teaching was unique, and he had a remarkable talent for making complex ideas easy to understand. His ability to engage students and explain difficult concepts in a simple and clear way made him one of the most beloved teachers at Caltech. When Richard first started teaching at Caltech, he wanted to do more than just lecture. He believed that learning should be an exciting and active process. He wanted his students to feel the same curiosity and excitement about physics that he did. To achieve this, he used various methods to make his classes engaging and interactive. One of Richard's key teaching principles was to start with simple ideas and gradually build up to more complex ones. He often began his lectures with a basic question or a common observation. From there, he would guide his students through the logical steps needed to understand more complicated theories. This method helped students grasp difficult concepts by connecting them to things they already knew. Richard also loved to use real-life examples and demonstrations in his lectures. He believed that seeing a concept in action made it easier to understand. For instance, to explain the principles of electricity and magnetism, he would use simple experiments with wires, batteries, and magnets. These demonstrations were not only educational, but also fun and memorable for the students. One of Richard's most famous teaching achievements was the creation of the Feynman Lectures on Physics. In the early 1960s, Caltech decided to overhaul its physics curriculum. They wanted to create a series of lectures that would cover the entire subject of physics, from the basics to the most advanced topics. Richard was asked to design and deliver these lectures. Richard saw this as a great opportunity. He was excited to create a course that would inspire students and give them a deep understanding of physics. He spent countless hours preparing the lectures, carefully thinking about how to present each topic in the most engaging and understandable way. The Feynman Lectures on Physics were a huge success. Richard delivered the lectures with enthusiasm and clarity, making complex ideas accessible to everyone. The lectures were attended not only by students, but also by faculty members and other scientists who wanted to hear Richard's insights. The lecture hall was often packed, and the audience was captivated by Richard's lively and clear explanations. One of the key features of the Feynman lectures on physics was Richard's use of simple, everyday language. He avoided jargon and complicated terminology, focusing instead on clear and straightforward explanations. This approach made the lectures accessible to students at all levels, from beginners to advanced learners. Richard's ability to connect with his audience was another important aspect of his teaching. He had a natural charisma and a great sense of humour, which made his lectures enjoyable and engaging. He often told stories and anecdotes to illustrate his points, making the material more relatable and interesting. One famous story Richard liked to tell was about his father, who had a big influence on his approach to learning and teaching. Richard's father believed in teaching through curiosity and real-life experiences. He would take Richard on walks and explain the world around them, not by giving names and labels, but by exploring the principles behind what they saw. This method of teaching, by encouraging curiosity and understanding rather than rote memorization, was something Richard carried into his own lectures. The Feynman Lectures on Physics were eventually published as a 3-volume set of books. These books became widely used in universities around the world and are still considered some of the best resources for learning physics. They have been translated into many languages and have inspired generations of students and teachers. Richard's impact as a teacher went beyond the lecture hall. He believed in making science education accessible to everyone. He often gave public lectures and talks, sharing his love for physics with a broader audience. He wanted people to see the beauty and wonder of the universe and to understand the importance of science in everyday life. One of Richard's public lectures that became very popular was titled, "There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom." In this lecture, he talked about the possibilities of nanotechnology, the science of manipulating matter at the atomic level. Richard's visionary ideas in this lecture sparked interest and research in a field that has since become a major area of scientific and technological development. Richard also wrote several popular books, including Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, and What Do You Care What Other People Think? These books were collections of anecdotes and reflections on his life and work. They showed his playful and curious nature and made science approachable and fun for readers. Richard's dedication to teaching and his unique approach left a lasting legacy. His methods and principles continue to influence educators and students around the world. His belief in the power of curiosity, the importance of clear and simple explanations, and the joy of discovery are still relevant today. Richard's teaching was not just about transferring knowledge. It was about inspiring a love for learning and a passion for understanding the world. He showed that science could be exciting, fun, and deeply rewarding. His lectures and books continue to inspire new generations of scientists and thinkers. As Richard looked back on his teaching career, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had touched the lives of many students, helping them to see the world in a new way. He had shared his passion for physics and had shown that with curiosity and dedication, anyone could understand the mysteries of the universe. Richard Feynman's approach to teaching and his famous Feynman Lectures on Physics are a testament to his talent for making complex ideas accessible. His engaging and clear explanations, his use of real-life examples, and his dedication to inspiring curiosity have left a lasting impact on science education. Richard's story is a reminder that learning can be a joyful and exciting journey, filled with discovery and wonder. Chapter 10. Adventures and Anecdotes. Richard Feynman's life was full of interesting adventures and memorable stories. He loved to explore the world, meet new people, and solve puzzles. These experiences shaped his view of the world and provided countless anecdotes that he loved to share. One of Richard's most famous adventures was his trip to Brazil. In the early 1950s, Richard received an invitation to teach at the University of Brazil. Excited about the opportunity, he decided to spend a year in Rio de Janeiro. This trip turned out to be one of the most enriching experiences of his life. When Richard arrived in Brazil, he quickly fell in love with the country. He was fascinated by the vibrant culture, the friendly people, and the beautiful landscapes. Richard embraced Brazilian life fully. He learned Portuguese, enjoyed the local music, and even participated in the famous Carnival Festival. He often played his bongo drums with local musicians, blending his love for music with his new surroundings. Teaching in Brazil was also a unique experience. Richard noticed that many students were good at memorizing facts, but struggled to understand the concepts behind them. He wanted to change this. He encouraged his students to ask questions and think critically. He used his engaging teaching style to make the lessons interesting and understandable. By the end of his stay, Richard had made a significant impact on his students, leaving them with a deeper appreciation for physics. During his time in Brazil, Richard also gave public lectures. One of these lectures was about the scientific method. He explained how science is not just about collecting facts, but about understanding how things work. He used simple examples to show how scientists ask questions, form hypotheses, and conduct experiments. His lecture was well received and helped the audience see the value of scientific thinking. Another of Richard's memorable adventures was his involvement in the investigation of the Challenger space shuttle disaster. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded shortly after takeoff, killing all 7 astronauts on board. The tragedy shocked the world, and a commission was formed to investigate the cause of the disaster. Richard was asked to be a part of this commission. Richard approached the investigation with his usual curiosity and determination. He wanted to find out exactly what had gone wrong. He examined the technical details of the shuttle's design and construction. He spoke with engineers and experts, asking detailed questions and gathering information. One key moment in the investigation came when Richard decided to test the material used for the shuttle's O-rings, which were rubber seals that helped keep the rocket fuel from leaking. Richard suspected that the cold temperatures on the day of the launch had affected the O-ring's performance. To test this, he took a piece of the O-ring material and dipped it in a glass of ice water. He then showed how the material became less flexible in the cold, demonstrating that it could have failed to seal properly. This simple but powerful demonstration was a turning point in the investigation. It provided clear evidence that the O-rings had likely failed due to the cold, leading to the explosion. Richard's straightforward approach and clear explanation helped the Commission understand the technical issues and communicate them to the public. His work on the Challenger investigation showed his ability to tackle complex problems and find clear, understandable solutions. Richard's life was also filled with smaller, everyday adventures and anecdotes. He loved solving puzzles and challenges. One such challenge was his fascination with safe cracking. During his time at Los Alamos, Richard had discovered how to open safes and locks. This skill was more than just a party trick. It demonstrated his curiosity about how things worked and his ability to think creatively. In one famous story, Richard used his safe cracking skills to open a colleague's locked filing cabinet. He wanted to show that the security at Los Alamos could be improved. After successfully opening the cabinet, he left a note inside saying, "Guess who?" This playful act highlighted Richard's sense of humour and his knack for solving problems in unconventional ways. Richard also loved to explore different fields of knowledge. He was interested in biology, astronomy, and even the study of ancient languages. He believed that learning new things kept the mind sharp and opened up new ways of thinking. This curiosity led him to many interesting conversations and collaborations with experts from various fields. One of Richard's favourite hobbies was drawing. He took art classes and practiced regularly, finding joy in capturing the world around him on paper. His drawings ranged from simple sketches to detailed portraits. He often said that drawing helped him see the world more clearly, improving his observational skills and attention to detail. Another memorable story involved Richard's time at a conference in Japan. He was fascinated by Japanese culture and eager to learn more about it. During the conference, he gave a lecture on quantum mechanics. To his surprise, the audience responded with polite silence. Richard later learned that in Japan, it was customary to show respect by remaining quiet during a lecture. This experience taught him about cultural differences and the importance of understanding and respecting them. Throughout his life, Richard's adventures and anecdotes illustrated his love for learning, his playful spirit, and his ability to see the world from different perspectives. These stories were not just entertaining but also educational. They showed how curiosity and a willingness to explore can lead to new discoveries and deeper understanding. Richard Feynman's life was a testament to the joy of discovery and the value of curiosity. His adventures, whether in Brazil, investigating the Challenger disaster, or cracking safes at Los Alamos, demonstrated his unique approach to life and science. Richard's stories continue to inspire and remind us that the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Chapter 11. Legacy and Impact. Richard Feynman left an indelible mark on science and education. His unique approach to teaching, his groundbreaking work in physics, and his boundless curiosity have inspired countless individuals. As we look at his legacy, it's clear that his influence extends far beyond his lifetime. One of Richard's most significant contributions to science was his work in quantum electrodynamics, QED. His development of Feynman diagrams revolutionized the way physicists understood and calculated the behavior of subatomic particles. These diagrams made complex interactions more accessible, allowing scientists to visualize and solve problems that had once seemed insurmountable. Today, Feynman diagrams are a standard tool in physics used by researchers worldwide to explore the fundamental forces of nature. Richard's impact on education is equally profound. His Feynman Lectures on Physics remain a cornerstone of physics education. These lectures, delivered in the early 1960s, were compiled into a 3-volume set of books that have been translated into many languages. They are praised for their clarity, depth, and engaging style. Students and teachers alike continue to use them as a primary resource for learning and teaching physics. Richard's ability to make complex ideas understandable and interesting has helped countless students grasp difficult concepts. Beyond his technical achievements, Richard's teaching philosophy has had a lasting impact. He believed that education should be about understanding, not memorization. He encouraged his students to ask questions, think critically, and explore the world with curiosity. This approach to learning has influenced many educators and continues to shape modern teaching methods. Richard's emphasis on curiosity and creativity over rote learning remains a guiding principle for effective education. Richard's legacy also includes his contributions to scientific integrity and ethics. Throughout his career, he championed the importance of honesty and transparency in research. He believed that scientists had a responsibility to report their findings accurately and to question their own assumptions. This commitment to integrity was evident in his role in the Challenger disaster investigation. Richard's clear, straightforward analysis helped uncover the cause of the tragedy and emphasized the importance of rigorous, honest scientific inquiry. His dedication to ethical science serves as a model for researchers today. Another aspect of Richard's legacy is his ability to communicate science to the public. He had a talent for explaining complex ideas in simple, relatable terms. His books, lectures, and public talks made science accessible to people of all backgrounds. Richard believed that everyone could understand and appreciate science if it was presented clearly and engagingly. This belief drove him to share his knowledge widely, inspiring many to develop an interest in science. Richard's influence can also be seen in the many scientists he mentored. His students have gone on to make significant contributions to various fields, carrying forward his spirit of curiosity and innovation. They often speak of Richard's ability to inspire them to think independently and to pursue their own questions passionately. The lessons they learned from him continue to shape their careers and their approach to science. One of Richard's most enduring legacies is the example he set as a lifelong learner. He never stopped exploring new ideas, whether in physics, art, music, or languages. This relentless curiosity and love of learning inspired those around him and showed that the pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong journey. Richard's diverse interests and willingness to explore different fields remind us that learning can be a source of joy and fulfillment. Richard's impact on popular culture is also significant. He became a symbol of the playful, curious scientist, challenging stereotypes and making science more approachable. His autobiography, "Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman," introduced many readers to his adventurous spirit and unconventional approach to life and science. The book's success helped demystify the world of science and showed that scientists could be fun, relatable, and human. In addition to his public influence, Richard's work continues to inspire innovation in science and technology. His ideas in quantum mechanics have paved the way for advancements in quantum computing, a field that holds the promise of revolutionizing technology and information processing. Researchers building on his work are exploring new frontiers in physics, pushing the boundaries of what we know about the universe. Richard's legacy is also reflected in various awards and honors named after him. The Feynman Prize in nanotechnology, for example, recognizes outstanding contributions to the field of nanotechnology, a testament to Richard's visionary ideas about the potential of manipulating matter at the atomic level. These honors ensure that his name and contributions will be remembered and celebrated for generations to come. As we reflect on Richard Feynman's legacy, it's clear that his impact goes beyond his scientific achievements. He showed us that science is not just a body of knowledge, but a way of thinking and exploring the world. His emphasis on curiosity, creativity, and integrity has left a lasting imprint on science and education. Richard's life reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge is an adventure filled with wonder, challenges, and endless possibilities. Richard Feynman's legacy continues to inspire new generations of scientists, educators, and curious minds. His contributions to physics, his innovative teaching methods, and his infectious enthusiasm for learning have created a lasting impact that transcends time. Richard's story encourages us to embrace curiosity, seek understanding, and approach the world with an open mind and a joyful heart. Chapter 12. Final Years and Reflections. In the final years of his life, Richard Feynman continued to explore, teach, and inspire. Even as he faced the challenge of cancer, his spirit remained strong and his curiosity unbroken. These years were a time of reflection and sharing wisdom gained over a lifetime dedicated to science and learning. Richard had always been a curious and adventurous person, and his later years were no different. He continued to teach at Caltech, giving lectures and working with students. His office was often filled with young scientists eager to learn from him. Richard enjoyed these interactions, finding joy in helping others understand the mysteries of physics. One of Richard's major projects during his final years was working on the second edition of his famous Feynman Lectures on Physics. He wanted to ensure that these lectures remained relevant and accessible for future generations. Richard reviewed the material carefully, making updates and clarifications where needed. He collaborated with colleagues and former students, drawing on their insights to enhance the lectures. This work was a labor of love, reflecting his deep commitment to education. Outside of his professional work, Richard spent time with his family and friends. He loved sharing stories and memories, often reminiscing about his adventures and the people he had met along the way. These moments of connection were precious to him, providing comfort and joy as he faced his illness. In 1978, Richard was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. The news was difficult, but Richard faced it with the same courage and curiosity that had defined his life. He underwent treatment and continued to work as much as he could. Despite the physical challenges, he remained mentally active, constantly thinking about new ideas and problems to solve. Richard's reflections on life and science during this time were profound. He often spoke about the importance of curiosity and the joy of discovery. He believed that science was not just about finding answers, but about asking questions and exploring the unknown. This philosophy had guided him throughout his career and continued to inspire him in his final years. One of Richard's most touching reflections was about the interconnectedness of all things. He often talked about how understanding one part of the universe could lead to insights about other parts. This idea was beautifully illustrated in his famous quote, "The pleasure of finding things out is one of the greatest sources of joy. It's the feeling of connecting pieces of a puzzle, seeing how everything fits together." Richard also reflected on the importance of honesty in science. He believed that scientists had a duty to report their findings truthfully and to question their own assumptions. This commitment to integrity was a cornerstone of his work and a lesson he imparted to his students. He often said, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself. and you are the easiest person to fool. During his illness, Richard continued to find joy in simple pleasures. He loved playing the bongo drums, drawing, and spending time outdoors. These activities brought him peace and helped him stay connected to the world around him. Richard's ability to find beauty and wonder in everyday life was a testament to his positive outlook and resilient spirit. Richard's reflections on life were not just about science, but also about living fully and authentically. He encouraged others to follow their passions and to be true to themselves. He often said, "What do you care what other people think?" This advice resonated with many, reminding them to pursue their own paths with confidence and joy. As Richard's condition worsened, he remained surrounded by loved ones. His wife, Gwyneth, and his children provided unwavering support and comfort. Richard valued these moments of closeness, cherishing the time he had with his family. Despite the pain and uncertainty, he found strength in their love and care. In his final days, Richard remained intellectually engaged. He continued to read, think, and discuss ideas with friends and colleagues. His mind was as active as ever, always seeking new knowledge and understanding. This intellectual vitality was a defining feature of his life, and it stayed with him until the very end. Richard Feynman passed away on February 15, 1988, leaving behind a remarkable legacy. His contributions to physics, his innovative teaching methods, and his boundless curiosity had a lasting impact on the world. He was remembered not just for his achievements, but for his joy of discovery and his ability to inspire others. In his final reflections, Richard often spoke about the wonder of the universe and the importance of staying curious. He believed that the pursuit of knowledge was a never-ending journey, one that brought meaning and fulfillment. His words continue to inspire new generations of scientists, reminding them that the quest for understanding is one of life's greatest adventures. Richard's life was a testament to the power of curiosity, creativity, and integrity. His work changed the field of physics, but his influence went far beyond science. He showed that a passionate and curious mind could make a difference in the world. Richard's story is a reminder that the joy of learning and the thrill of discovery are treasures to be cherished. As we reflect on Richard Feynman's legacy, we are reminded of the importance of asking questions, exploring the unknown, and living with a sense of wonder. His life and work continue to inspire and guide us, encouraging us to embrace the pleasure of finding things out. Richard's journey may have ended, but his spirit of curiosity and discovery lives on, lighting the way for future explorers of the universe.